Right, let's continue very quick. So far, does anyone has any question or something he or she doesn't get? Right, let's continue. Firewall also limits access to sensitive resources. Network firewalls can prevent unauthorized users from accessing sensitive and confidential data, such as patients' data and financial information. In fact, when you build a network and you don't enforce firewalls, that's policies, anybody in organization can just access any resource in that particular organization's network. If you don't enforce firewalls in your network, let me say a nurse, let's say let's take a hospital. A nurse can access a patient's data, and he or she can also access the financial data of that particular hospital. In fact, firewall is needed on every network to actually limit on the unauthorized access of sensitive and confidential data on these various networks. So when you are building your network, make sure you enforce firewall to actually prevent these disasters. It protects the network from cyber threats. Attacks caused by malware or threats propagated by malicious websites visited by users within the organization can be blocked and prevented by network firewalls. Now, sometimes you see that you are an organization, a specific organization, you've connected to their Wi-Fi network. You try to visit a certain movie website or a certain gaming website, the site will tell you site not available. But when you use your own data and you go to the site, it's working. For example, most organizations, their network doesn't allow you to visit a porn site. So when you use certain organization network to enter a porn site, they will tell you that particular site is actually down or is not responding. But when you use any network apart from a different, maybe your mobile data, you will see that your access goes through. Now, they have a firewall that is preventing you from accessing that particular resource from that server. Take note, they have a firewall that prevents you from accessing these websites because they know these websites contain highly malicious hidden viruses. So they are preventing, so you can notice that this firewall is protecting the organization's network. Therefore, by limiting you, the user, from accessing that particular website. So whenever you are on a certain organization or a certain network, you try to visit a certain website and it blocks you saying the website doesn't exist or something. So many errors, meaning they have a firewall and their firewall is protecting that particular organization's network. Any question? Now, this is how a firewall works. A firewall structure is. You can see from my screen. Now, let's say you are here. This is the organizer. This is you, the client. Now you've requested something. You've sent a request here. You pass through a firewall before you can actually go to a resources here. Now, the policy enforcement firewall, this is what they are doing. They are verifying your request if you, the user, is actually authorized to make such a request. Now, when it authorizes it, when it inspects that request, it also compares whatever it will find to 8 policies that has been defined. So then, for example, you are in an organization, you are requesting for a bank account details. You send the request from your end, the request will hit a firewall. The firewall will start inspecting the request. So the firewall will be like, okay, what's the request? Then the request is, I want to know the bank details of this particular customer. Now, it has finished inspecting this request. It will compare it with the policies it has, saying, okay, is this IP address authorized to access this particular person's bank account details? If yes, you will be allowed to go. So you pass here, allowed to go and fetch your resource. If no, you will be denied of the resource. It will bounce back to you, then it will tell you error. So this basically how the firewall works in a network. You the user will send a request, the request will hit a firewall, the firewall takes the request, inspect if you are in fact indeed authorized to make such a request, compares with the policies how to access this resource. If it is valid and it actually goes in line with what the policy it has defined for, it allows you to fetch your resource peacefully and bring it back. If you go contrary to the policies, you will be denied of the resource and you will be getting error at your end. Any question? Now, types of firewalls. What are the types of firewall? One, packet filtering firewall. Packet filtering firewall. Now in networking, we all know packets. We all know packets. Packets are just the breakdown of this request data that has been breakdown being sent over a particular channel. So they are also referred to as the traffic. So it inspects ingress, that's incoming, and egress, that's outgoing traffic, and allows or denies passage of traffic based on basic information like source and destination. So you see, this is very simple. The packet filtering firewall, this is what it does. It assesses the incoming request, where the request is coming from, and where that request is going. So for example, you as a teller in a bank, you request to withdraw money from a particular bank account. The firewall will assess, it will verify either you are indeed a verified teller. And so after that, it will also verify that in fact, if you actually send a request to the server you've been authorized to access, if this happens, they have no problem with you. You go straight and fetch your result and bring it back to you. This is a work for packet filtering firewall. Any question? We have stateful firewall. This one utilizes stateful inspection to track traffic and block traffic that deviates from expected patterns. Okay, now this is what this type of firewall does. In fact, when you are let me say a hacker, and you try to mimic a specific IP address to access, in fact, you are a hacker and you want to access bank accounts of a particular customer, but you are mimicking one of the IP addresses. The firewall is going to detect, is going to draw pattern in your request, whatever traffic you sent, and is going to block you. In fact, when you don't work in a certain organization and you try to mimic them, the possibility of you overdoing it or underdoing it is very high. For example, you are not a teller, but you always visit the bank. You think you can do the work of that particular teller. So maybe someday you go, they are not watching, then you just sneak yourself, go and sit beside one teller's let me say machine and tries to make a request of withdrawal. Since they have their established protocol, they know how they request. The firewall knows that this particular teller, when he or she requests, he or she does something to it. You will just go and make the request. Now, the stateful firewall will know the state of this traffic, compares with the defined policies, and blocks any traffic you are requesting or deny you of the access to that particular server. Any question? Now we have application firewall. That's our last one, application firewall. In fact, the application firewall analyzes data at the application layer. It compares observed events to established patterns of activity to identify deviations and prevent threats. Application firewalls can tout attacks carried out by unexpected commands such as buffer overflow attacks, DOS attacks, and malware. This application firewall actually detects, in fact, basically the attacks from aliens, that's hackers, intruders. Whenever there is, in fact, an alien or an intruder attack request, when you are a hacker and you are trying to request and they have firewall, note that it's going to detect. It's going to detect that, in fact, you are foreign, and so you will be blocked from accessing that particular resource. Any question? Okay, if there are no questions, the class has ended. I'll send this video to, so you'll be expecting two videos, this video and your last week recorded session. That's a practical session. Go through it, and those who have the computers, watch it and build your, okay. Okay, thank you very much for joining today's class.